Hey guys, this is Bill from Spencer1984.com with another update to the Twister trucks. And this is going to be a pretty short update this week because I've been doing a lot of little fiddly detail work, but we can go over it pretty quick. So, starting with the Jeep, I got the engine basically done at this point. The rest of the ignition is done, coils in, got the fuel line and the fuel pump in. I do still need to add the carburetor linkage, but I gotta wait for the firewall to be in place for that. Same with the radiator hose. And then inside, I think I'm basically done with this. I've got the gauge cluster finished, and then I went and added a bunch of the gear that Joe had on the dashboard. So we got the little electronic box and the cell phone. Those are out of a Corvette kit. And the CB radio is something out of my parts box with a scratch-built microphone and cord. Underneath, I just did a little bit of cleanup work, a little bit more weathering, just kind of tidied up some of the rough spots that were left over from the work that I've been doing on it. So I think chassis, engine, and interior are basically done until I get the body on. And speaking of, so I started doing some of the weathering on the body, got the rest of the decals on the tailgate, and I think overall this is coming together pretty good. I do need to add a lot more weathering to it, but that's going to have to come after everything is together. So, do a little set down here, and so that's how the Jeep is going to look. Now, onto the Ram. Again, the interior is basically finished at this point. I added the four-wheel drive lever, the brake pedal, and another CB radio. Again, the CB is out of my parts box. Everything else is scratch-built. Now, the instrument cluster is something that I picked up from Best Model Car Parts on eBay, and it's just a really nice print that you cut out and drop into place, and it's a pretty good looking piece. I think I might pick up more of those in the future. On to the rest of the chassis. I think the engine is similar to the Jeep at a point where it's got to be done until I get the body on, because there's a lot of stuff like the radiator hose, the air intake, all of that stuff that needs to connect to the inner fenders somewheres. So, got to get that done. The chassis, I think, is 99% done at this point. I've got a full scratch-built steering assembly here. I do still have a couple more little items to add. I got to add a sway bar, and then I got to make a stabilizer and put that on. But that's basically it for the front end. And I got a feeling if I forget either of those, it won't be the end of the world. I got a scratch-built exhaust system from the headers to the catalytic converter. And I was getting a lot of mixed messages on where the catalytic converter was supposed to be on this setup. So I picked where I had the straightest shot that also seemed to match up to the information that I was able to pick up. It might be wrong, but it's close enough. Got the front drive shaft all assembled and installed. This is another piece from Fireball Model Works, and like the rear drive shaft, went together beautifully. I got the rear shocks. Those are also scratch built. And I know that for a new Dodge, they should have been black, but everything else is black on this chassis, so I wanted to give it a little color, say they're just heavy-duty shocks that were added. And then I also added the straps to the fuel tank. So at this point, I need to add in those last two steering components that I was talking about, and I need to add the rest of the exhaust system, which is going to be one pipe, the muffler, and then the tailpipe. So not a whole lot left. I'm calling the chassis pretty much finished at this point. And then the very last thing is I finally got some paint on the body. And this is very much not the final look for it. I still need to do the polishing, the clear coat, and then obviously all of the trim and other detail work. But it's nice to finally see it in some red. And for the most part, I'm pretty happy with it. There's still a couple of little rough spots, but I think any of those are small enough that they'll polish out once I get the final clear coat and everything else on it. And so if we take a look at putting the interior in, and this is the first time I've done this too since the body's been painted, so we're going to find out what this looks like together. Come on. Okay. There we go. And then drop that on the chassis. And, yeah. I think we're in pretty good shape here. So, next steps. Got to get the clear coat on the RAM. Then I got to get the glass installed in both of these, the electronics installed in both of these, and I can bring everything together. And at that point, it'll just be the final weathering and making the two Dorothys for it. So, yeah, it's been slow going, but I've been generally pretty happy with how things are coming along. I will have another update on these next week. You can check back then, and thanks for watching.